Have you ever looked at a group chat, seen another invitation, and quietly hoped someone else would cancel first? Not because you dislike people. Not because you're shy. Not because you're having a bad day. You just know that staying home sounds better. For a long time, people assumed that enjoying your own company meant something was wrong with you. Maybe you were lonely. Maybe you lacked social skills. Maybe you were pushing people away. But modern psychology tells a very different story. Sometimes the healthiest people in the room are the ones who don't need the room at all. The real question isn't whether you like being alone. It's why. Because the answer says far more about your mind than most people realize. One of the biggest misunderstandings in psychology is treating loneliness and solitude as if they're the same thing. They're not. Loneliness is the painful feeling of missing connection. Solitude is the peaceful experience of choosing your own company. One hurts. The other restores. From the outside, both people may look exactly the same. They're sitting alone. They're eating alone. They're walking alone. But inside, they're having completely different experiences. One person feels isolated. The other feels free. That's why appearances can be so misleading. Psychologists have become increasingly interested in people who genuinely prefer spending time alone. Not because they fear others. Not because they're avoiding life. But because solitude simply feels good. Researchers sometimes describe this as a preference for low social stimulation. In simple terms, your brain doesn't need constant interaction to feel satisfied. Think about your phone battery. Some phones lose power quickly. Others last all day. People work in a surprisingly similar way. Some minds recharge through conversation. Others recharge through silence. Neither is better. They're simply built differently. Part of the explanation involves your brain's reward system. This system helps decide what feels exciting, interesting, or rewarding. For some people, conversations, parties, and crowded places create a strong feeling of reward. For others, too much stimulation becomes exhausting surprisingly fast. Imagine walking into a room where 10 people are talking at once. One person feels energized. Another person feels mentally full within minutes. It's like listening to music. Some people enjoy the volume all the way up. Others notice every sound long before it becomes loud. Their brains reach that point sooner. That doesn't make them antisocial. It makes them more sensitive to stimulation. This sensitivity creates another interesting effect. When the outside world becomes quieter, the inside world becomes louder. Your mind starts connecting ideas. Memories surface. Questions appear. Problems slowly untangle themselves. What looks like doing nothing often becomes some of the deepest thinking of the day. That's one reason so many people report having their best ideas while walking alone, or taking a shower, or driving without music, or staring out of a window. Your brain finally has room to think. Modern life rarely gives it that chance. Creativity often depends on empty space. Not empty schedules. Mental space. Imagine trying to hear someone whisper during a rock concert. It's almost impossible. Your thoughts work the same way. When notifications, conversations, videos, and background noise never stop, subtle ideas never get the chance to grow. Silence isn't empty. It's where those ideas become loud enough to hear. That's why many writers, artists, inventors, and scientists intentionally create periods of uninterrupted solitude. They're not escaping people. They're protecting attention. But here's where things become more complicated. Not everyone who spends time alone is doing it for the same reason. This is one of the most important distinctions in psychology. Are you choosing solitude or hiding inside it? Those may look identical from the outside, but emotionally, they're worlds apart. Healthy solitude feels peaceful. Protective isolation feels tense. Healthy solitude gives you energy. Avoidance quietly drains it. One is a choice. The other is a defense. The difference matters. A simple question can reveal a lot. How do you feel when someone you genuinely like invites you somewhere? If your first thought is, "That sounds nice, but maybe another day," you're probably choosing solitude. If your first thought is, "They probably don't really want me there," something different may be happening. That's no reason to judge yourself. It's simply worth noticing. Psychology isn't about labeling people. It's about understanding the reasons behind our habits. People who enjoy healthy solitude usually have something interesting in common. They're comfortable with their own thoughts. That sounds obvious, but it isn't. Many people avoid silence because silence removes distractions. Without constant entertainment, you're left with yourself, your memories, your doubts, your unfinished conversations, your emotions. For some people, that's uncomfortable. For others, it's exactly where clarity begins. Being alone doesn't create those thoughts. It simply gives you enough quiet to hear them. Another surprising trait is independence. Not the dramatic kind. Not, "I don't need anyone." Healthy independence sounds much quieter. I enjoy people, but I don't depend on constant attention to feel complete. That's a huge difference. When your happiness depends entirely on someone else's presence, relationships carry enormous pressure. Every delayed message feels personal. Every disagreement feels dangerous. Every goodbye feels permanent. People comfortable with solitude often experience relationships differently. They appreciate connection. They simply don't build their identity around it. Ironically, this often makes them better friends, because they aren't constantly asking others to fill emotional gaps. They're able to listen, to be patient, to respect space, to enjoy company without fearing its absence. They don't cling, they choose. And being chosen always feels better than being needed. Modern culture sometimes sends the opposite message. We're expected to stay available, always online, always responding, always connected. If you're not posting, texting, scrolling, or replying, people assume something is wrong. But constant connection isn't the same as meaningful connection. Being surrounded by noise doesn't guarantee belonging. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is disconnect long enough to hear your own thoughts again. That isn't selfish. It's maintenance. Just like sleep. Just like exercise. Your mind needs recovery too. There's another misconception worth clearing up. People who enjoy solitude don't necessarily dislike socializing. Many actually love meaningful conversations. They simply prefer depth over quantity. One honest conversation, instead of 20 small ones. One close friendship, instead of dozens of casual acquaintances. Quality replaces volume. And psychology consistently shows that close relationships contribute far more to well-being than simply knowing lots of people. So how can you tell whether your relationship with solitude is healthy? Ask yourself a few simple questions. Can you enjoy spending time with people when you want to? Can you also enjoy spending time by yourself? Do you feel restored after being alone? Or only relieved because you avoided something frightening? Are you moving toward peace? Or away from discomfort? Your answers matter far more than the amount of time you spend alone. Perhaps the biggest lesson is this. Being comfortable alone doesn't mean rejecting humanity. It means building a relationship with the one person you'll spend every second of your life with. Yourself. When you stop needing constant distraction, something remarkable happens. You become more aware, more intentional, more emotionally stable. Not because you're isolated, because you've learned how to enjoy your own company. And people who genuinely enjoy their own company rarely expect others to carry the weight of making them feel whole. So the next time someone asks why you skipped the party, why you enjoy quiet weekends, why you're perfectly happy reading a book while everyone else is chasing another busy schedule, you don't have to apologize. You don't have to invent an excuse. You don't even have to explain. Just remember this. Being alone and being lonely were never the same thing. One is the absence of connection. The other is the presence of yourself. And sometimes, that's exactly where your mind does its best work.